Live from the INFOWARS.com studios, it's Alex Jones.
And we are now back into the second hour. In the second half of this hour, we're going to have in studio Terry Holcomb in studio. He was arrested for having a pistol open carry, including a black powder pistol that's totally and completely legal and lawful. And we see folks carrying regular firearms being arrested all over the U.S. in areas where it is not prohibited by unconstitutional law. And this is a big national story that InfoWars nightly news reporter Jakari Jackson broke. And so I appreciate Jakari scheduling these guys for the Sunday show. This has now become a national story, seeing a veteran in a wheelchair also, that's coming up in the next segment, who was arrested for his firearms. So that'll be in the next segment. Then we'll bring them in studio with us here on air. Now, let's get back into the attack on the First Amendment. Lois Lerner, the head of the IRS, back in May of this year, she came and took the Fifth, so she wouldn't have to testify, but then said that she wasn't targeting people in the testimony. Well, the Fifth doesn't let you commit perjury. It lets you, if you believe you're being set up or whatever, or it's self-incrimination, lets you take the Fifth and shut up. And then they can't compel you to testify. That's all that means. The right to remain silent. Everybody thinks that's Miranda. Miranda was a case where the police had to remind you, the Supreme Court said, that you had the right to remain silent. But that's now been thrown out because common law says ignorance of the law is no defense. So that shows the direction our country's going, even though you can technically say that is the law. So she now, her emails have now been released. In Congress's investigation, they've now subpoenaed her emails where she calls the Tea Party and any other libertarian or conservative group very dangerous and says that they need to go after them. Okay, so she's lying. The Attorney General lied. They all lied. Of course, they have audited thousands of Tea Party groups and zero socialist, communist groups, authoritarian groups that they call liberal. That's all on record. The Attorney General goes to big socialist black churches and tells them, go ahead, be political. We're not going to go after you. Giving them a green light to something that's already unconstitutional. You can't tell churches what they can say and can't do. There's no federal jurisdiction. They trick churches to become tax-exempt foundations, tax-exempt charities. But you're still tax-exempt under the First Amendment, and until the 50s, that was the case. I mean, it just shows... guaranteed, folks, if we don't turn the NSA spying around, in 10 years, people will say, the NSA has a right to spy on you without warrants. That's a conspiracy theory. That's how they set up this tyranny and then just get everybody used to it. So there's the Wall Street Journal. Here is the Washington Times email show. IRS Lois Lerner specifically targeted Tea Party. Boom. And even if she didn't commit perjury, which she clearly did, and all of her underlings as well went on record and lied, the persecution of people is the essence of tyranny. When the big, bad government politically targets people, we've always known this has been happening for decades, but now it's admitted, ladies and gentlemen, and if they don't go to jail for this, if they don't even get a slap on the wrist, a fine, man, Katie, bar the door. So many people I talk to go, man, I'm not going to be political. They'll come shut me down. I have preachers tell me that all the time, and I'm like, they're going to shut you down because you're a coward. Everybody lays down. You're going to get... I've told this story 50 times. I'll tell it again. In the last decade, they've noticed suddenly that coyotes have begun to kill humans. Coyotes have never been recorded to kill anybody other than a small child or baby. They're now eating full-grown women, mainly. In Canada and the U.S., women usually will be at a park by themselves at lunch eating, is usually the M.O., a group of coyotes, 5 to 10 or more, will show up. The woman will fall on the ground like a horror movie from learned helplessness. In real life, women fight back, folks. Not like, Jason comes with the machete and you fall down. I don't know what woman that is. No woman I've ever been around. And the whole point is that a man might be able to subdue a woman, but it ain't going to go too easy, to use French. And the woman falls down and they kill him. Women now fall down to a mountain lion. They now fall down to a coyote. Mountain lions have always attacked people, but more and more often in areas where they know that you're not scared of them. So the point is, everybody grovels to this chilling effect, to this tyranny. The government is like coyotes now, getting away with targeting us and attacking us. So free people fight back for their basic liberties. Now, this is only the tip of the iceberg. Let me get to the other stories here that are just from the last few days. Senate panel okays measure defining a journalist, and the LA Times spun this, saying, oh, the government's going to protect the press. The press is already protected under the First Amendment, just like religion and the right to assemble is. Read the whole First Amendment, folks. Religion, then the press, then the people, the right to assemble, and to petition the government for redress of grievance. Go read the whole thing. It's only 2 lines long. So Dianne Feinstein comes out last year and says, I know how we're going to shut down talk radio. I know how we're going to shut down bloggers. I mean, they had a whole bunch of senators say, we want to shut them down. They're evil. They're liars. They're racist. You know, Harry Reid has said this. I'm going to play this clip coming up. Harry Reid said the Tea Party's, dangerous and bad, and it's un-American to not love the government. The government is good. Remember, Obama said, we don't want to hear about tyranny right around the corner. Well, now they're coming out going, oh, like the Patriot Act takes your rights. Oh, we have a Journalism Protection Act where the federal government will list if you're a journalist or not, and then not let you have authorization to any type of documents, information, press conferences, but it's worse than that. You will not be able to protect your sources unless the government certifies, and they liken it to CNN or the New York Times. They will decide. They said the Drudge Report or INFOWARS, we will not be journalistic even though we're real journalists. WorldNet Daily, getting a secret army document where they know Al-Qaeda launched the chemical attacks. That takes a lot of nerve when they're arresting whistleblowers to put that out, folks. I mean, that's a big story, should be a national news story right there. So this is what we're talking about here. And then they spin it to the sheep. Oh, we're going to protect, because Obama's been persecuting whistleblowers and going after media sources and all the rest of it. And so the way they spin that is, oh, don't worry. The Democrats, the most authoritarian in history against the press, arresting reporters, you name it. We're going after sources. We're going to protect it by stripping everybody of First Amendment protection, unless you're a toady, and then we give it to you. Kind of like a White House press briefing where you've got to kiss their butt properly or you get kicked out. Ask a hard question. Doesn't matter if you work for the New York Times. You'll never be in a press briefing again. This is their reign of terror. So Matt Drudge blasts Dianne Feinstein for trying to define who is and isn't a real reporter and calls her a fascist. And I could not agree. Oh, here's the LA Times, though. Bill to protect journalists clears Senate panel. What do you want to bet they're going to get called journalists? Because they lied to you and told you this was something to protect the First Amendment instead of gutting it. But here's the good news. People are waking up to the lies. When we come back, law-abiding gun owners having their guns taken.
Hello, this is Hank Hill. And I'm telling you what, you need to listen to Alex Jones.
Yeah. INFOWARS.com.
My judge, what is the secret of the universe?
INFOWARS.com.
Look at what happened in other authoritarian countries. When the state starts persecuting you for your political views, you know you're in a tyranny. And when they start persecuting the founding ideas of a nation, you know it's a group of revolutionaries trying to overthrow the system. And that's what the globalists are. They're the revolutionaries, like the communists, the Bolsheviks in 1917 in Russia. We are the counter-revolutionaries, and the Weathermen and Obama's people are on record saying that. That's why they're doing all this persecution. That's why they're engaged in all this political correctness, trying to say everybody's a racist if you don't want to turn in your guns, is because this is a takeover by a political class. And they are going after the First Amendment. They are going after talk radio. They are going after free speech. They are going after the media. And we either stick together or hang separate, as Benjamin Franklin said. And the reason they're coming after us is, I have 3 million listeners a day, conservatively. And that's not exaggerated numbers like a lot of shows. We have millions of visitors a day at INFOWARS.com. Other Patriot-type sites get tens of millions of visitors a day, like Drudge and others. Together, we are bigger than the old dinosaur media. We are the media. And they know that. And they want to shut us down, calling it liberal, but it's really authoritarianism. That's why you need to stand with us for the First Amendment or lose everything. That's why it's imperative you spread the word about INFOWARS.com. That's why it's imperative you spread the word about PrisonPlanet.com. Why you become a subscriber to see the films and the nightly news and so much more at PrisonPlanet.tv and Operation Awakening the Sleeping Giant. That's why it's imperative you buy the books and the videos and the T-shirts. Because unlike NPR that gets taxpayer money, unlike MSNBC that gets taxpayer money, you didn't know that, stimulus money, we get none of that. We are supported by your free will. And that's why they want to collectivize things and make us all poor under Cloward and Piven, so you have no extra money to politically or economically vote with your dollars. So get at cost the new InfoWars September issue, Thou Shalt Not Have Any Gods Above the State. It's a special issue about the authoritarianism of the people calling themselves liberals. And when the fake right wing does stuff, we go after them. You know that, folks. But I've never seen such a full court press. Now is the time to get involved. InfoWarsStore.com for the high-quality water filter systems discounted, like ProPure, the best out there. 10% off promo code WATER. The Patriot Pro Gun T-shirts. The best Interfood liquid products, minerals, vitamins, all of it. InfoWarsStore.com. And you are funding, really, the #1 multimedia platform to fight tyranny and promote what they call terrorism, basic Americana. Now, that said, let me get into Harry Reid before I get into the Second Amendment. Harry Reid, I played this Friday. I've got to play it again. Because remember, Obama said, don't listen to those that say there's always tyranny around the corner. No, it already ran us over like a bus, and it's backing back over us right now. He says government is good inherently. Now look at government in the last century. It killed over 100 million people in Russia and Eastern Europe and other areas of Europe alone. 60 million in Russia by itself, upwards of 80 million in communist China, 260+ million worldwide in the 20th century. University of Hawaii study that came out a decade ago. Look up democide, or death by government. Non-military deaths killed by government. They've got the Motorhead song, Killed by Death. How about killed by government? And they've got a University of Chicago study on it as well. Their numbers are even higher. He's saying government is good and those that are against it are anarchist. The globalists are anarchist against the Bill of Rights and Constitution and individualism. The state says it'll go run wild. They are kleptocratic, selective anarchists who are above the law. Look at the UN, the diplomatic immunity. Here is this quick comment by Harry Reid.
We have a situation where this country has been driven by the Tea Party for the last number of years.
Thought they had no power.
When I was in school, I studied government, and I learned about the anarchists. Now, they were different than the Tea Party because they were violent. But they were anarchists because they did not believe in government at any level, and they acknowledged it. The Tea Party kind of hides that. Government is not inherently bad. Government is inherently good. That's why we have a constitution, and that's what we direct the activities
All right, that's
of
good.
government.
Now let's just be clear. Government historically has been inherently bad. Big government especially. And they're at odds with the Bill of Rights and Constitution on every front. I mean, Obama across the board, whether it's Pulitzer Prize winner Chris Hedges, who's a real liberal, saying he's twice as bad as Bush to the Constitution, or whether you're Pat Buchanan, a real right-winger. I mean, anybody with half a brain cell knows that the Democratic Party is power-grabbing with the help of the Republican leadership like nothing we've ever seen. And now they've got federal task forces out there without judge or jury taking veterans' guns if they find something in their psychology file they don't like.